In this video, I will be discussing an often overlooked but very valuable tool. In a previous video, I had discussed the importance of a metal detector because even when you buy wood from a lumber mill, you can never tell. A piece of metal could be embedded from the original plant, probably hundreds of years ago. It could have a nail or something or some other piece of foreign metal in that piece of wood. So I explained to you that it's important to have a metal detector to look for metal object because you don't want to run a piece of steel through your table saw or bandsaw or whatever. So that's well understood. And I'll leave a link to the video for this. I already reviewed this. Another tool, again, that is often overlooked is a moisture meter. This particular one is the Orion, and it's from Wagner. And what this allows you to do is check the moisture content within a particular wood. Why you want to know this? Like right now, it's calibrated for oak, and I'll show you. This piece of oak is at 9.8 moisture content, which is ideal for furniture making. You do not want your lumber when you're working with furniture or cabinets or whatever it is, you don't want it to have a high moisture content. You don't want it having 16, 18, 19, 20% moisture content. That's actually a very wet piece of wood. And what happens is when you get it into an air-conditioned space, it's going to dry out. So when it dry out, all of your joints is going to fail. You're going to have failure. Or if you have boards that glue up together, they're going to start splitting. More likely they're not going to split at the glue joint, it's going to split in the wood itself because of that drastic change going from 18, 19, 20% down to 9.8 in a air-conditioned environment. That's too wild of a swing. A lot of people don't consider that. I know it's very hard in a garage workshop, but ideally you want to have a workshop, and I had to deal with this for years. Ideally, you want to have a workshop that is conditioned. You have a heating and air in a workshop. Reason being, you want your wood and your projects being processed in an environment similar, if not exactly the same, as the environment that it's going to be going into. So moisture meter is very important. There are different kinds. You've seen the ones with a little needle where you prick into the wood. They work. I just prefer this particular one because it doesn't mar the wood in any way. This one is very sophisticated. I don't use all of the features. You can do stuff like check relative humidity, and it has all type of other settings to it. If you're using something that is non-wood, they have settings for that. You also have the ability, it came with this, an instruction on how to do it. You can also calibrate it. That's how sophisticated it is. You can calibrate it yourself. And it came with not just a manual, but it came with a book, because you have to, based on the lumber that you're checking, you have to change the setting. It has a species material setting. You have to change a setting. Like for example, this one is oak and red oak, and it's set to 0.63, and that's the setting for red oak. Now, this particular board is over 3/4 of an inch thick, so it has a setting for depth For that one, it has two settings. One is 1/4 and one is 3/4. So in this case, you would use a 3/4. It's a good habit to pick it off of the surface and hold it from the side before checking the moisture content. And when you have a board this thick, it's a good idea to check from both sides and take the average. So that will let you know what you're working with. The other important use too is when you initially get the wood in, it's a high probability it's going to have a higher moisture content. And if you start processing it for use, you're going to find out that the board that you just milled up is going to twist, cup, and bow, because it's gonna change based on the environment, and you might find yourself chasing your tail. That's the reason why when you're processing wood, you're supposed to do it in stages. A lot of people don't tell you this. You're supposed to do it in stages. You take off material, whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. So if your final thickness is, let's say you start off with a 4/4 board, 1 inch, and your goal is to get a 3/4 inch board, you don't want to go to the jointer and planer and in one go try to get it down to that dimension. You'll end up regretting it. When you initially process it, it'll be perfect. It will sit flat. You put them, if you have multiple pieces, you put them together and it'll be a glue line joint. It'll be perfect. But then you'll come back the next day and you have bows, twists, and every other moisture-related defects in the board. So it's good to, first of all, when you get it in, let it acclimate to the space. I normally let my wood acclimate to the space minimum a week, preferably 2 weeks. Sometimes I even have it for longer, depending if I'm not using a piece of wood yet, it'll sit on there for months. So when you process it, it's not taking on a radical change, which will cause it to have those defects, moisture-related defects, like be cup, bow, or twist. So these are little things that you normally don't get told on YouTube that is very, very, very important. It's not exciting, it's not a cool project, but if you want your project not to be a failure, these are things that you need to know, and these are things you need to practice. So get yourself a moisture meter and use it. As I told you previously, same thing with a lot of people do projects out of pallet wood or driftwood or something, wood they find by the side of the road. Oh, once again, even if you buy it commercially, you'll be surprised. You can find metal embedded in it. So just give you a quick demonstration. Once again, this is set up for oak. And you see it's bouncing around because it's different parts of the wood where the grain is tighter or is less tight. It's gonna have a slightly different moisture content. So that's why you see it, jostling about. But so long as it stay within a couple of percentage of each other, that's fine. In other words, you won't want it to go from 9 to like 13 or 14 or 15 or something like that. That's mean is something's going on. Okay. So this is a piece of southern yellow pine, and as I told you, it came with a little book. You can look it up. This is southern yellow pine, and there's a whole lot of them in here. Southern yellow pine. The setting is 0.56. So I go in to material species and I go to bring it down to 5.6. Hit the power button that holds it. It's in a deep mode right now. That's why it's showing DP. Because once again, the board is more than 3/4 of an inch. And look at that. this board is ready to be processed for joinery or whatever. This particular one is a soft maple. So a soft maple, I will go in here and I will look up maple. Soft maple is 0.49. So once again, I will hit species and change it to 0.49, hit the power button. Now in this case, this board is about 3/4 of an inch, so I want to change the depth from deep to 1/4. Power again to accept it. Power is like enter in this. And once again, because this is a thinner board, you want to lift it off the table. And this is showing 14.2. But this board is stable. I processed this board over a week or two ago, actually about 2 weeks ago, and it's still flat. It's not down to its final dimension, but it's flat, no twists. This one here is a hard maple. So hard maple is 0.6. Okay, accept it. Then this is a thicker board, so I'm going to change it to 3/4. Hit power to accept it. And that's the reading that I'm getting. Now, don't get too hung up on the reading. If you're in a conditioned space, what you're looking for is change. So you don't want drastic fluctuation. If I come in today and it showed 12.5 and I check it tomorrow and it still was 12.5 or within that range, the board is good because it has reached equilibrium, meaning that is not shedding or taking in any moisture. So the moisture in the air and the moisture in the board is relatively the same. So once again, don't get, I know a lot of people tell you stuff like it has to be less than 10 and all that. I don't know where they get that stuff from, but what I have find is you don't want extremely high and you don't want swings. If I came in and then one day this started off at 16 and then the next day I came, it was 14. And the next day I came, it was 13. You see, that's mean it's still moving. It's still stuff, it's still taking place. But then at some point I come in and it's at 12. And the next day is at 12. And the day after that is at 12. It has stabilized. And that's what you're looking for. And if your environment is similar to that of the environment the product is going in, you're good. Anyway, I like this particular one. The model number is the 950. They're cheaper ones you can get. The most important thing is that you have something. The ones with the pins, they're okay too. But I like this particular one. If you're interested, I'll put the information in the description. If you're interested in this particular one. It's the 950, it has Bluetooth. I haven't used that function yet, but you could log the data points. Like I was just talking about earlier, if you're tracking the humidity over time, you can log that, and it has Bluetooth capability. So it's a very cool tool. And it also has some other functions and features that, that is explained in the manual. And plus the fact, as I said, you can calibrate it yourself. That's why I like this particular one. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day and be safe in the shop. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to be notified when new content is dropped on this channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and drop a comment down below.